Well, that's all for now. Until next time, remember, God made you special, and He loves you very much. Bye!
Bye!
A commercial was done by one of the big LA shops that had two salt shakers or a salt and pepper shaker on a kitchen countertop. And they actually squished. They were squishy. Everything before that in computer animation had been rigid, plastic. And these two actually jumped around like little Warner Brothers characters. And it was great. And I just, how did they do that? And it was a brand new technique called lattice deformation, where you could take any object, like a salt shaker or a toaster oven, and put it in a lattice or a box. And then rather than moving every point in the object, you only had to move the points on the box. And they would twist the object inside it. So you could take a very complex object and make it squishy. And I thought, okay, that's how I'm going to tell my stories. But I knew then that I needed characters that would be so simple that you could animate them by putting them inside a little box and then animating the little box. So that they couldn't have arms, they couldn't have legs, and because of the complexity, they couldn't have hair and they couldn't have clothes. So I bought, this is in 1991, bought my own computer animation system. I had quit my job and set up my own little company. And actually, to buy that first computer animation system, my parents took out a second mortgage on their house so that I could get that first system and get going. And started playing around with, okay, what am I going to put in the box to make it squishy? And I made a little man that looked like he was made out of Nerf, a little Nerf ball guy, and got him kind of moving. And that was kind of cute. And then I started playing around with the candy bar. And I made a little chocolate candy bar. Put kind of big goofy eyes on them, and the eyes, each eye was also in a little box. The eyes were really squishy, and that gave him his expressiveness, and then had this little candy bar bending around on the countertop. And I'd just gotten married, and my wife walked by our spare bedroom and saw the image on the screen and said, moms are going to be mad if you make their kids fall in love with candy bars. And I thought, good point. Okay, what wouldn't moms be mad about their kids falling in love with? And the very next thing that popped into my head was a cucumber. So I took the eyes off the candy bar, made a little cucumber, made him green, put the eyes on the cucumber, and then looked at him and thought, okay, he's kind of goofy, I think, so I'm going to give him one tooth and a big grin. And then just his expression, just like, oh, okay, I think I know how he would act. So I did a 12-second piece of animation that was on a tile kitchen countertop that actually looked a lot like that old TV commercial I'd seen with the salt and pepper shaker. And we pan down the countertop, and you see a bowl, a ceramic bowl, and all of a sudden this little cucumber sticks his head up over the edge of the bowl, hops up to the camera, and grins. Just pops this big, goofy, one-tooth grin. And when I played it for the first time, this little 10-second clip, I thought, he's alive. there's my character. Kids can relate to this guy. And also, I know what he'll do in different situations. If he gets stranded on a desert island, I know how he'll act. If he gets stuck in a runaway train, I know how he'll act. I can see his personality just through his face. But he was alone, and it was not good. And he was tall and skinny. So I thought, okay, he needs a sidekick who's short and round. And it's an Abbott and Costello or Laurel and Hardy thing. So I made a tomato. I thought, okay, cucumber and tomato, that's really cute. But I didn't want them, then I was thinking about what are we going to name them? What do you name these guys? Is it Kooky the cucumber and Tommy the tomato? I thought, no, that's way too cute. I don't want to do anything that cute. So I wanted really, really kind of regular names. And actually made a list on paper of what are all the really regular names we could come up with for these two guys, and settled on Bob the tomato and Larry the cucumber. The first thing I did was a 10-second clip of Larry, just to see if he would come to life and if he could engage and tell a story. And that worked great. I was hoping that would, help us fund the whole thing, but it didn't. So then I realized that we needed to do something longer. So Mike and I sat down and said, okay, we need to do like a 2-minute film to really show that we can do this. So that was, the inspiration for the first short that really launched VeggieTales.
All right. VeggieTales promo, take 38.
Okay, get this. All the citizens of the kitchen come together. Fruits, vegetables, small kitchen appliances. Regardless of species, color, or brand name, they all come together with one purpose. And that purpose...
Hey, Bob! Have you seen my plastic wind-up lobster?
Not now. That purpose is to create the most fantastic Christian children's series anyone has ever imagined. A show bursting with positive values, filled with lighthearted stories, songs, and educational materials. A show so bold, so innovative, so earth-shattering it could only be called one thing. VeggieTales!
Oh, here it is. Oh.
Just a minute, not so fast. Before this nonsense goes any further, I just want everyone to know that I was against it from the start. Isn't that right, dear?
That's right, he was.
Yes. When that pickle came up to me,
It's a cucumber, dear.
Oh, yes, whatever. As I was saying, that cucumber came up to me and asked me what I thought we should do this weekend. I suggested a Caesar salad might be nice. We hadn't done one of those in a while. But no, they decided to do a television show instead. I mean, really. You put vegetables in salads. You use them as side dishes. Occasionally, you might use them as an aesthetically pleasing garnish. But you never put vegetables on television. It is simply not done.
Oh, I don't know. I kind of like the idea.
Hi everybody, Junior Asparagus here. I've got a fun activity for you and your family to try. It's called helium stick. What's a helium stick? Well, helium is what they put in balloons to make them float, and you just won't believe it, but you've got a helium stick in your house right now. And we're gonna use it to play a fun game that shows how we need to trust God. Trusting God is important when you're scared, because if you trust that God will keep you safe and you believe that there's nothing God can't do, then you just can't be scared. To play this game, find a lightweight stick of some kind, like a yardstick or a tent pole, or you could roll up a piece of newspaper into a tight tube and tape it together. You could also use a broomstick, but that's actually a little on the heavy side. The more people you have for this game, the better, but you can play it with just 2 people if you want. Half the people stand on one side of the stick and half stand on the other. Hold your hands out in front of you with your palms facing each other and rest the stick on the top of everybody's pointer fingers. I'd play with you if I had a pointer finger. The object of the game seems simple. All you have to do is lower the stick to the ground. The trick is that everybody's fingers have to touch the stick at all times. No cheating. Don't hold the stick, and don't let it lift up off your fingers. You aren't going to believe this, but the stick just won't want to go down. As much as everybody wants to lower the stick, it just won't go down. Sometimes it even goes up, kind of like it has helium in it. It takes a lot of practice and cooperation to get it to go down, and the last few inches are the hardest yet. Everybody has to work together, so don't get frustrated. And remember, this is just for fun. This game is a lot like learning to trust God. Even when you want to do something, it's hard to do it sometimes, but just stick with it and have faith.
All right.
Oh, that was fun, guys. What did we learn from that?
Working together to lower that stick was hard, and sometimes trusting God is hard too. How can you work as a family so that everyone continues to trust in God? Does talking about God with your family help you understand Him better? Who are some people from the Bible that had to trust God? Well, I hope you learned something and had fun playing this game. This is Junior Asparagus reminding you that God is the biggest and He's watching over you and me. Bye!
This is Greg Harden. He's one of the talented artists here at Big Idea Studios. He's going to show you how to draw frankencelery from Tales from the Crisper.
So we start with a really tall rectangle. And then try to find about where the halfway mark is on him. Should be about there. And you're going to know that his eyes and his nose and pretty much all of his face is going to be above the halfway mark. So draw his first eye, pretty big. And then he's got this really long, skinny, bulbous nose. And then his other eye is a lot smaller than the first eye, so it's only like this big. And then draw his pupils. And then put a bit of a curve into his back. And then again on his front. And then these are kind of his legs, I guess you could call them. That's why we put the curve in here. So it kind of looks like a leg here and kind of like one here. And then we'll give him his smile. Okay, now let's go ahead and give him his Frankenstein hair. And of course he's got to have his bolts. And give him some eyelids. And his monobrow. Okay, from here we can pretty much start coloring in. Put a highlight in his eye. Erase the middle mark. It's not supposed to be there. And anywhere else you think you might want to get rid of. We got frankencelery.
Far, far away in the land of galoots, where the bigglebag trees bear their bigglebag fruits, and far lily bushes all blossom in yellow, and thimbuttle plants squirt snowberry jello. Here where the mountains of Rocky Magoo rise high o'er the meadows of Gilda Manju, where sunsets are painted with purple and blue, you'll find a small town, not much bigger than you.
It's a wonderful tale, and it's a nugget that tells all of us that we are uniquely made, each and every one of us.
The Snoodle's Tale is, for me, a really special story. I had this picture in my head of this little parable that I wanted to craft in this little world. And the goal was not just, how would Phil tell that story, but the goal was, how would Dr. Seuss tell that story? This was a story where it was more about the message. Kids come into the world and they want to do everything, and they think they can do everything because no one has told them they can't. But then as they grow, eventually peers come into the picture. And when peers come into the picture, the messages they've gotten back have changed as they go to other people and ask the question, what did I look like when I did that? That instead of, that was great, that was wonderful, you look beautiful. The messages all of a sudden as you get older start to change to, you know what, you look silly when you did that, or you looked foolish when you did that. But ultimately, we can't draw our self-image from our peers. We need to draw it from our Creator, because only the one who made us can see us the way we truly are. Only when you see yourself the way God sees you do you have a true picture. And that is so freeing You know, that's how you can sing, that's how you can dance, that's how you can soar.
Well, right now, we're working on a really fun story. It's called The Sumo of the Opera, and it's basically if you took the Mikado and Rocky and maybe tossed in a little WWF.
If you want to know who we are wrestlers of Japan.
Larry the Cucumber plays a sumo wrestler named the Italian Scallion.
That's no clown, it's his sparring partner, the Italian Scallion.
And that's his introduction. In each of our shows, we have what we call a nugget of truth, and it's a biblical value that we hope kids will pull out of the lesson. And in the Sumo of the Opera, the lesson is perseverance.
You never finish anything, unless it's a punchline.
There's actually 3 stories in this. The Sumo of the Opera is the main story, and then we have a little silent film called Going Up, which is kind of a takeoff on the Three Stooges. And then we have a completely new story, which is told in a new segment we have called Lutfi's Fanciful Flannel Graph. And Lutfi is a sock puppet that's done by Khalil, the caterpillar. And we've got all these 3 stories plus a silly song, Schoolhouse Polka. Larry has an accordion and a lesson to teach about vocabulary, but all done in polka style, so it's really kind of fun. It's hilarious, and I think it's one of the best things we've ever done.